So you've probably heard the story that mathematics started with the caveman and piles of rocks, that was the first mathematics that was done. That's really just speculation, but it certainly does make sense. And so we're going to go back in time and do some caveman math today, see why division by zero is impossible. The point being that even in the most primitive math, in caveman math, we can see that division by zero is impossible, and that it is not zero, that something divided by zero is not zero, and in fact that it has no answer. So I should introduce our special guest today. His name is Thog. He is going to help us do some caveman math to illustrate why division by zero is impossible. Well, I could not get him to wear the name tag. In fact, he didn't even want to appear in the video when he realized that he wasn't going to get paid for appearing. And he said he's busy, but anyway, talked him into it. He said he's busy because he's moving, and that leads us to our problem. Thog has found a nicer cave than the one he's in now, and so he's planning on moving, and he needs to move his furniture. So here is his furniture. These 6 rocks he wants to take from his old cave to the new one, but he can't carry them all at once. So one possibility would be that he could carry 3 rocks at a time. 6 divided by 3 would mean 2 trips for Thog, and like any good mathematician, caveman or otherwise, he checks his answer, that 2 trips times 3 rocks per trip, yes, that will get the 6 rocks moved. That checks. Well, the check mark has not been invented yet. This is the symbol for check, which is like a happy animal. This works, happy animal. Okay, check. Another possibility would that he could take 1 less rock per trip. He could take 2 rocks per trip, and that would take him 3 trips to move the 6 rocks. And let's see, check. Well, another possibility is to take 1 less rock. Instead of 3 or 2, he could take just 1 rock per trip. And 6 divided by 1 is 6. That would take 6 trips to move. And that checks. We are still a happy animal. Well, what happens if he takes 1 less rock? What happens if he carries 0 rocks per trip? What is 6 divided by 0? How many trips will it take to move these 6 rocks if he doesn't carry any rocks per trip? Well, he can make 100 trips, and the 6 rocks, none of them have moved. He could make 1 billion trips carrying 0 rocks, and nope, just not going to happen. There is no number, is there? Now, clearly the answer is not 0. 0 trips carrying 0 rocks does not move the 6 rocks. It doesn't move any rocks, just like any other number doesn't move any rocks. Well, so there is no number that works. What about infinity? Is that the answer? Well, let's think about that for a second. Let's look at that. Okay, is 6 divided by 0 infinity? Well, infinity is not a number. We think of it as the number that is, bigger than the biggest number. But of course, there is not a biggest number. So let's look at it from the standpoint, let's think about it from the standpoint of, does that solve the problem? Are you going to tell Thog that if he makes an infinite number of trips carrying 0 rocks each time, that in fact that is going to get the rocks moved? I think you might have a hard time getting Thog buying off on this plan. I mean, remember, we couldn't even get him to wear the name tag, but I think you'd have a hard time convincing him that he should get started making an infinite number of trips, and that is carrying 0 rocks each time, and that's going to get the rocks moved. So if we look at this from the standpoint of is that a solution to the problem, I think you have to say no. The answer of saying an infinite number of trips. Okay? Well, let's see here. So there is no answer. We cannot divide by 0 and get an answer that is going to work or get an answer that is going to check, because whatever that number is times 0 has to equal something other than 0. And anything times 0 is 0. So, by the way, that's true of real numbers. Any real number times 0 is 0. It's also true of complex numbers. Complex numbers does not solve this problem either, because 0 times any complex number is also 0. Well, let's see what the caveman symbol for this is here. I don't think we're going to get a happy animal. Let's see what we get here. Well, that doesn't look good. That's just not a happy animal at all. Okay, so I hope this explanation shows you that even in caveman math, that division by 0 is impossible. We do not get an answer. All right, we'll let Fogg get on with his moving here, and I hope you enjoyed this.